If your life is not what it could be, it's because you are hiding from what must be confronted. The world you build around yourself, the illusions you cling to, are nothing but fragile masks, designed to protect you from the weight of reality. You bury yourself in falsehoods, in ideologies that offer comfort, but comfort is for the weak. The lies you tell yourself are chains, each one pulling you deeper into a pit of your own making. If you want to rise, if you want to tear yourself free from the suffocating grip of mediocrity, then you must face the harsh, unforgiving light of reality and speak what you know to be real. The easiest path is always the one lined with lies, with stories that make your suffering seem justified, that make your weakness seem inevitable. Ideologies promise salvation, but all they do is wrap you in the soft embrace of false hope, shielding you from the brutal truth that you refuse to face. Wallowing in nihilism is nothing more than a coward's retreat, a desperate attempt to convince yourself that nothing matters, so that you may avoid the responsibility of changing what is broken. But no ideology, no hollow philosophy of despair can save you from the emptiness that comes from running away. Weakness feeds on lies. The lies you tell yourself about why you cannot rise, why you cannot change, are the very thing keeping you bound to your suffering. Weakness thrives in the darkness of deception, where you convince yourself that there is nothing you can do, that the world is too cruel, too heavy to bear. But the only way to crush that weakness is to confront it, to look it in the face and tell the one thing it fears most, the cold, unflinching reality that you have allowed it to thrive. To tell yourself the truth is to declare war on your own frailty, to rip away the comfortable lies that have kept you imprisoned in your own failure, rejection, desperation, confusion. These are the fruits of living a life built on deception. The more you lie to yourself, the more the world rejects you, the more confused you become. You tell yourself stories to protect your fragile ego, to keep the darkness at bay, but those stories are nothing more than poison. The longer you cling to them, the weaker you become, the further you fall from the person you could be. Desperation grows not from failure itself, but from the failure to confront what has been avoided, from the refusal to face the harshness of reality. Paradise is not a place of comfort or indulgence. It is a realm where the weight of deception does not exist, where every word cuts through the shadows with deadly precision. In that place there is no room for lies, no shelter for the weak. Paradise is built on the foundation of reality. Only those strong enough to face that reality can ever hope to enter. It is not a place for those who avoid the truth, for those who cling to comfortable illusions. In paradise there is nothing but the raw, unfiltered power of honesty, and it is that power that makes it untouchable. The lies you tell yourself are what keep you from rising, what keep you from mastering your own life. If you want to escape the cage you've built around yourself, then you must tear down every falsehood, every comforting story that shields you from what you know deep down to be real. The truth is not your enemy, it is your salvation, but only if you are strong enough to face it. To cling to lies is to embrace your own destruction, to welcome the slow, suffocating death of your potential. If your life is a pit of despair, then look at the lies you have told yourself, at the way you have twisted reality to make your failures seem less bitter. But bitterness is not to be avoided. It is the taste of the truth, the medicine that burns but heals. To tell yourself what is real is to give yourself the only weapon that can cut through the chains of weakness. The moment you stop lying, the moment you strip away the illusions, is the moment you begin to rise. In a world where deception is currency, where lies flow freely, to tell the truth is an act of rebellion, an act of war against the forces that seek to keep you bound. It is not easy, it never has been, but it is the only path that leads to power, the only way to free yourself from the burden of lies that drags you down. The world will never offer you comfort for speaking what is real, but comfort is not what you seek. You seek the strength that comes from standing in the storm of truth and refusing to be moved. The hardest choices require the strongest wills. And there's no choice harder than telling yourself what is real, than tearing down the illusions and facing the abyss with nothing but your will to survive. But those who make that choice, who face reality and embrace it, will find that no storm, no darkness, no lie can ever crush them again. To find out what is truly individual in ourselves is no simple task. It requires descending into the deepest, most dangerous corners of the mind, far away from the comforting delusions that cloud our understanding. Profound reflection is not a journey for the faint-hearted. It is a plunge into the abyss, where the self is stripped bare, revealing layers of deception, weakness, and conformity. It is there, in the silent, terrifying darkness, where the fragile mask of identity is torn away, and what remains is the raw, brutal essence of who you really are. The discovery of individuality is not a gift. It is a battle, a war fought within the confines of the soul. It is an uncommonly difficult task, not because individuality is hidden from us, but because we are conditioned to fear it. The world wraps you in expectations, in roles, in the constant pressure to conform, to blend into the faceless masses. Every moment of your life, society pushes you to become less of yourself, to dissolve into the comfortable patterns that everyone else follows without question. To discover what is truly yours requires breaking free from these chains, from the illusion that you are anything but a reflection of the world's expectations. Reflection is an act of rebellion. It is the dangerous process of peeling away the layers of false identity, of confronting the hollow aspects of yourself that have been crafted by others, and in that reflection you begin to realize just how much of what you thought was you has been shaped by the cowardice of avoiding the hard questions. To reflect is to open yourself to the terror of seeing what lies beneath the surface. A labyrinth of contradictions, of hidden desires, of darkness that has long been buried. Individuality is not found in the light. It is uncovered in the shadows, in the places most are too afraid to look. The easy path is to accept the roles given to you, to live out the script that has been written by those who came before. But those who seek power, who seek to become more than mere actors in someone else's play, know that individuality is the greatest weapon they can possess. It is not a mask to be worn for approval. It is the armor that allows you to stand alone, unbroken by the forces that seek to crush you. Most will never discover what is truly theirs, because the process of reflection is too dangerous, too unsettling. It requires confronting the lies you have told yourself, the illusions you have embraced, to avoid facing the terrifying reality of your own potential. Individuality is not comfortable. It is a flame that burns through everything that is false, everything that has been constructed by the expectations of others, and once that fire starts, there is no stopping it. It consumes the fragile structure of your borrowed identity until all that remains is what is real. The world despises those who find their individuality because they cannot be controlled, cannot be swayed by the opinions and judgments of the masses. To be truly individual is to stand outside the herd, to see the world as it is, not as it pretends to be. The discovery of individuality is dangerous because it threatens the very foundation of conformity, the lifeblood of society. Most people never come close to finding their true selves, content to live as reflections of others, afraid to explore the depths of their own existence. The hardest part of the journey is not finding individuality. It is surviving the process of confronting everything you are not, The self is not simply discovered, it is forged in the fire of brutal honesty, in the reflection that cuts through the illusions of what you think you should be. Most people are not prepared to face what lies beneath their surface, to confront the chaos of their own mind. Because once you see it, there is no returning to the comfortable ignorance of the herd. Individuality is dangerous because it reveals just how little of you is truly yours, and how much is a construct designed to keep you docile, weak, and controlled. Reflection reveals that individuality is not a destination, but a relentless process of tearing away the falsehoods, of cutting through the noise to find the core of your being. It is not enough to simply discover it. You must fight to keep it, protect it from the forces that seek to drag you back into conformity. Most people would rather live with the comfort of a borrowed identity than endure the pain of forging their own. But for those who seek power, individuality is the key to everything. To discover what is truly individual within you is not an act of creation. It is an act of destruction. It is the destruction of everything that has been built around you. Everything that has been used to keep you from becoming what you were meant to be. And once the falsehoods are stripped away, once the comfortable masks are shattered, what remains is something dangerous, something powerful. If you haven't developed yourself in any capacity, you are already trapped in the cage of your own making. Your current purpose and every purpose that follows will remain shallow, empty, until you confront the decay inside yourself. The problems that plague you are not isolated. They are interconnected threads in the web of your life, each one tightening its grip the longer you ignore it. You think these problems are separate, but they are all part of the same sickness that festers within you, feeding off your inaction, growing stronger with every day you refuse to look at what is rotting beneath the surface. You must start where the pain is sharpest, where the rot has taken hold the deepest. Are you overweight, sluggish, trapped in a body that feels like a prison? That is the first chain you must break, for your body is the vessel through which all things are achieved. And if it is weak, your mind follows suit. Do you hate your job? Despise every minute of the life you have built for yourself, yet do nothing to escape it? That is another shackle, one that grinds you down every day, binding you to a path that leads only to bitterness and regret. Relationships? They are no sanctuary if they are filled with toxicity, with unresolved conflict and festering wounds. Every strained connection, every unresolved fight is another thread in the web that binds you. To leave those problems unaddressed is to invite the storm into your mind, where negative thoughts and emotions swirl like a tempest, consuming your focus, your will. The problems in your life do not stand alone. They are part of a greater whole, a web that has ensnared you so completely that you hardly recognize its presence anymore. Confront what's causing the most pain in your life. Do not run from it. Face it, dance with it. Let it tear at you until there is nothing left but the raw, bleeding truth. Only then can you begin to plan, to strategize, to devise a way out. To solve the problem in front of you is not just to remove an obstacle, it is to unravel the entire web. Each knot you untie, each burden you lift makes the next battle easier because the weight grows lighter, the momentum builds. And before you know it, the problems that once seemed insurmountable begin to crumble beneath your feet. This is not a linear path. It is a war fought on every front, with enemies hidden in every shadow. Each problem is connected, and as you break free from one, the others begin to lose their power over you. You're not merely solving a problem. You are dismantling the entire structure of your suffering. And with each victory, the path becomes clearer, the weight on your shoulders lighter, until you begin to move with the speed and force of a being who no longer fears the tangled web of problems, but sees them for what they are. Weak, flimsy threads easily torn apart by the strength of your will. You must confront the pain, embrace it, Make it your ally in the war against your own weakness. For every problem solved is not just a step forward. It is a declaration of power, a carving out of your space in a world that seeks to bind you. This is the process of becoming, of tearing apart the old and forging something stronger from the pieces. The problems are not your enemies. They are your training grounds where you refine yourself, where you become more than what you were. Each problem is an opportunity to prove your strength, to demonstrate the depth of your will. Look at your life as it is now. Do you believe for one moment that your problems exist in isolation? Every issue bleeds into the next. Every unresolved pain poisons another aspect of your existence. The problems don't just bind you, they define you. They dictate the terms of your suffering, and the only way to free yourself is to cut through each one with ruthless precision. Start with what's in front of you, and as you dismantle the immediate, you will find that the deeper, more insidious problems begin to unravel as well. There's no clean break, no easy way out, only the steady, relentless destruction of the web that has held you for so long. You're not fighting individual battles. You're waging war against the entire structure of your weakness. Every problem solved weakens the foundation of your suffering, and the more you tear apart, the less power your problems have over you. The storm in your mind will clear. The chains on your body will fall away, and you will find yourself standing in the ruins of the web that once held you. This is the process of transformation, not a gradual shift, but a violent breaking of everything that has kept you bound to the life you despise. But understand this: to confront these problems, to face the pain and make it your weapon, requires more than just desire. It requires a will strong enough to endure the destruction of everything you have known, a will capable of staring into the abyss of your own suffering and tearing it apart from the inside. Weakness is the luxury of those who never face the abyss, of those who retreat from the weight of decisions that could shatter worlds. But you are not here to hide from the inevitable, to cower in the face of the impossible. You are here to make the choices that others fear, to wield the burden of consequence like a blade forged in the fires of your own will. The easy path is for the timid, for those who cannot bear the cost of greatness. But the hardest choices, they demand something more, something that most will never possess. There is no strength in avoiding the inevitable. The hardest choices are not made in the light. They are carved from the shadows, from the depths where others dare not tread. To choose is to willpower, to stand in the storm of consequence and claim your place amidst the chaos. Those who falter, who hesitate, are swept away, lost in the tide of their own indecision. But you have the strength to stand firm. Make the choice that others shrink from, knowing full well the weight it carries. To make the hardest choice is to face the darkness within yourself, to acknowledge that some paths cannot be walked without sacrifice. It is not the absence of fear that defines strength. It is the ability to embrace it, to use it as fuel for the fire burning within. The strongest wills are forged in the crucible of impossible decisions, where every path leads to ruin, and yet you continue forward, unyielding. You know that in the end it is not about survival, it is about purpose, about forging something greater from the ashes of what must be destroyed. There is a price for every decision, and only those with the will to pay it can see the path through to its end. The hardest choices do not offer solace nor comfort. They demand sacrifice. They demand that you sever the ties that hold you back, that you burn away the weaknesses that seek to drag you down. Those with lesser wills cannot bear the weight of such choices, and so they cling to the illusion that all paths can be walked without loss. But you know better. You know that every decision worth making carves something away, and the question is not whether you can afford the cost. but whether you are strong enough to pay it. Strength is not in the moment of victory, but in the moment of decision, when the world hangs in the balance and all eyes look to you to choose. The hardest choices are those that break the spirit of the weak, but for those who possess the strongest wills, these choices are merely another step toward the inevitable. To choose is to accept the destruction that comes with creation, to understand that power is not about preserving the old, but about forging the new in the fire of your own will. The strongest wills do not seek to avoid consequence. They embrace it, knowing that each choice made in the dark leads to the dawn of something greater. You think the hardest choices are a burden, but they are a privilege, a mark of the power you wield over the world and yourself. Each decision is a declaration of your will, a testament to your strength. And while others falter, consumed by doubt, you will make the choice that must be made. The hardest choices do not break you, because you're already forged in the fires of their weight. Others crumble under the pressure of consequence, but you thrive in it, you rise in it. The hardest choices require not just strength, but clarity, the ability to see beyond the present, to understand the cost and still choose to pay it. The weak avoid the hardest decisions because they fear what they must sacrifice to move forward, but you know that without sacrifice, there is no progress, no evolution.